My history is shrouded in a spider web of lies. Isn't this America?
Good morning. Welcome to At the Round Table with MAMLEO. I'm your host, Larry Ellison, in studio with my co-host, my brother from another. The doctor is in the house, here to ready to give you a checkup from the neck up. Good morning, brother. Good morning, Dr. Brad. How are you, sir?
Here to can't hold anything. I'm doing well, man. Thank you very much.
Multitasking.
Yeah, I'm trying to do it. When you get to my age, you have another set of eyes.
You've been saying that since you're 12 years old. Let's go back to his first broadcast. You were 19 when you started this.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to be here, man. God is good. This is the day that God has given us. So for all those who are listening, ask the Lord to walk with you through this day and guide you and guide you.
So
You'll be fine.
I take it you didn't run the marathon this past week.
No.
This is the first one I haven't worked in my whole career.
How did it feel to you, brother?
It felt great.
You get up in the morning and have to not have to worry about going on.
Yes, I didn't even watch it. I've never really had any interest in it. I find it actually kind of boring, right? Just standing there while people are running. And don't get me wrong, I'm kudos to those who are willing to do it
and able to do it.
That's true, and train to do it and do it for good causes. But it's just not something. It's not it's considered a sport, but it's not something that I could sit there and watch. It's just
well, brother, I once said that about golf. But
I think you can see the difference is you can participate in the golf thing. I'm not going to run 26 miles.
Oh, you and I both.
I tell people, I said, your car broke down?
Yeah. I'm not even going to walk 26 miles.
Exactly. So I have
probably should, but no.
I'm all set with that. Good morning, Press Ops. How are you, sir?
Phenomenal, by the grace of God.
Phenomenal. Look at boy, you got the magic fingers over there. He's like, good. Well, while we have you, before we go any further, sir, would you mind leading us with prayer?
Absolutely. Father God, we do bless you. We honor you. We give you praise for this day. And we, again, come before you asking you to just consecrate us now for your service by your power of love that's divine. Let our soul look up with steadfast hopes and our wills consumed in yours. Let the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. You are our strength and our Redeemer. And I want you who's able to keep us from falling and present us faultless before the presence of your glory with exceeding joy. To you we give our glory, majesty, dominion, and power, both now and forevermore. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Again, folks, you're listening to At the Round Table with MAMLEO. I'm your host, Larry Ellison, in studio with my brother, Dr. Bradley is in house. At the round table with MAMLEO. I said we are here. We have a lot to discuss this morning. But before we start, the calling number here: 617-282-0685. 617-282-0685. Yes, we are live. It is April the 20th. Today's the 20th. Is that right, Doctor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It's I saw a text. It's National Cold Brew Day for both coffee drinkers. I have offer for a free cold brew today with purchase. So I guess it's not free, but if you purchase something on your app today at one of our coffee shops, you get a free medium cold brew. So like I said, a free shameless plug for them. Again, 617-282-0685. 617-282-0685. Again, you're listening at the Round Table with MAMLEO. So folks, I want to say a hearty good morning to Mr. and Mrs. Harry Scales. What a great guy that brother is, man. Love that brother. So Harry, good morning, sir, and thank you for getting me and plugged into the Urban View.
Joe Madison.
Yes, I'm listening to the best of.
In fact, I was listening to him on the way in. He had a couple of shows that he
really wish I had known about him prior to that.
Well, I think I dropped the ball on that because I knew it. I was listening to him a lot. I just assumed that you knew it.
But no, you know that. I know what
listening
to him. Now I can understand why you listen to him. But I do have to turn it off when the kids are in the car because
it can get a little raw.
Yeah, I didn't realize on the satellite.
Yeah, that, you don't have the limitations that we have on this side.
And they don't have any.
Yeah. but he can say some things that we want to say.
Right.
Sometimes when we're talking to some people that may be a little out there, cannot see like what DT and other people are doing. Yeah. But we can't do it because of the limitations we have.
No, absolutely, we are limited. I say good morning to our sister Denise Depina Reed. We have to have.
Oh, that sister, man, I gotta get her back on here, man.
Yeah, not just. In fact, we need to reach out to her and we'll go have lunch with her. Maybe we can coerce her with a meal. And get her to at least come in every now and then. I miss that sister.
A good, soul food meal or something like that, man.
Yeah, exactly. Spend something like that. Everybody's getting those retro checks and those other checks, so they can afford it. We can.
I can't, but you guys can.
Oh, here we go. No, you filed joint, married the joint. So there is no separation there. So good morning, brother Dick. Good morning, brother Cliff. Haven't heard from you in a while. If you're out there, brother, let us know you're still doing well. Good morning, brother Cliff. Good morning, brother Jamal. That brother out there doing God's work. Appreciate you, man. Love you. Also, without further ado, Dr. Bradley, we have to add on our frequent flyer.
We gotta go Midwest, huh?
Good morning, Brother Bridgeford. Like I said, we are going back to Indiana. Good morning down there in Indiana. That family that lived in Gary, Indiana, we went down there once, and that was enough for me.
I hear you, brother. I hear you.
That was more than enough for me.
Yeah, that Midwestern country, town is pretty much suffering, man.
Yeah. So, we have a 911 crisis here in the Boston Police Department, Dr. Bradley. Our current commissioner, Michael Cox, has decided that it's in his best interest, in the best interest of the department, to have a promotional exam in the fall in September, when we currently have a list of candidates on the current list that would allow him to really diversify. And he is in that group currently right now. And he has decided that once again, historically, you've almost were a victim of that yourself, even had scored, that now we need to have an exam. This is probably the shortest lifespan of any promotional exam that I'm aware of.
That was be my question.
In the history of the Boston.
Yeah.
It's a little over 2 years old.
Okay.
In comparison, the last exam lasted about a little over 7 years.
7?
7 years. Yeah, 7 years because of challenges and things of that nature. But on average, it's usually he is now wants to fast track this for whatever reason, claims about fairness. But how is this fair when you have so few people of color in those ranks? And you can't get to lieutenants and captains if you're not promoted to sergeant. Right now, there are around 30 officers of color that could be promoted within this next grouping where they are.
So let me ask
this is in the 80s. This isn't the bottom of the list.
Okay, so that's going to be my first question.
Yep.
Are we at the bottom of the barrel?
No, we are not. We're nowhere near it because of the time span that have been promoted. And we also know that exam times during the summer is the worst time to prepare for an exam, right? When you still have this shortage. But all the things that are taking place during the summer months, all the parades and all that, the forced overtime, you have very little time to study. But also, what I'm also finding out is that a lot of the material that's going to be on the exams isn't even available, either online or in the bookstores.
So how can you have it then if it's material not available? That's automatically a disadvantage to all the participants, not just a particular minority group.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So what is fair? And then what's even more troubling is we have currently in the Boston Police Department in 2024, there is not one black female serving as a lieutenant. We currently have one person, I'm not going to put her name, we currently have one person, she is a sergeant, who is eligible in this round to be promoted to lieutenant. And she has been bypassed again for that position.
So how many female lieutenants do you have, period?
Not many. That's probably, I think in total there may be over 100 lieutenants in the department, but there may be less than 10. I'm going to say probably less than 5 that are females. There are 0 that are black women. 0. And I think there may be 2 or 3 males of color that are lieutenants in the Boston Police Department, right? So in absence of the captains, that is the person that is in charge in the stations, right? And you have an opportunity. And this woman is more than qualified. And historically, they claim that she has an open and internal affairs complaint against her.
Well, we know how that goes.
Right. Those things are usually resolved if you're on the list, one way or the other. They're resolved to allow you to move on with the promotional process. That this, honestly, in my opinion, is a travesty, and we can't let it stand.
So let's hold that one. How can that not be double punishment, though? If you keep this open and then you use that as a means to prevent her from moving on, when you close it and there's punishment associated with it, why wouldn't that be double or triple punishment?
Well,
in my mind, that's what I'm...
No, you're out, and you're on target because if you wait until this exam is now, you have another exam and it's been certified, and now you resolve the matter, that means that she would have to take this test again. That also would mean that she would not be eligible to take the test that it's coming, that you want to have coming up to make for captain. So so right now we have two black captains, two captains of color, and only two that are serving in that role. And then out of that, we have none that on this list that are eligible to be promoted from lieutenant to captain.
So, but what I'm saying is that a vehicle of complaint for the association would be, you're taking this individual and you're punishing her extensively because of the fact that you're holding her.
Yes.
And you're using that as a vehicle to prevent her from actually being promoted.
That's
a form of punishment.
Right.
So your form of punishment in policing is really taking money away from you.
It is.
Through suspension. So, but you're also taking money from her through denying her access to that rank.
That's right.
All right, and that's going to be right across the board for the rest of her career.
Right.
Then you're forcing her again to take
litigate.
it.
Right.
All right. So that's more money.
Yeah.
Then you're forcing her to litigate. If she does, that's money. So what I'm basically saying to you is that, for that one infraction, whatever the infraction is, I don't know.
Right.
But if by not resolving it, you are actually you're punishing her.
Right. So let's and to your point, now I'm sure she's going to litigate this matter, but we all know how long that takes. And then what happens? You don't make people whole if they've been sitting in a holding pattern for 5 to 7 years, right? While this is being mattered, going through all the appeals and whatnot, right? Yeah. So that means also you're not eligible for other things. And like you said, it's not just about the taxpayers paying for it, right? The state just paid out over $40 million for discriminations in exams. You have someone who passed the exam, who is eligible to be promoted in an area where you have so few people of color in those positions. So listen, the Boston Police Department has not resolved the recommendations set forth on the Tatum case, and no remedy has been offered. So the Tatum case, which is part of the lawsuit in which your wife and myself were part of, in which the judge in that case stated in his opinion that the state has been discriminating against black people for over 50 years, right? So now, and on average, the Boston Police Department's exams have always lasted between 4 to 6 years. This is in the department. The Boston Police Department on exam average reach grades in the scores of 83 before they committed. Currently, they're at 87.
Whoa. Time out. So let's break this down. Normally, on average, so my first question is there a policy or just a praxis keep the exam open for 7 years?
No, this is Cox's new way of doing business, I guess you can call it. This is historically, he's breaking so-called breaking new ground.
Okay, so Commissioner Cox's decision say, over 3 years he's gonna kill it.
Right.
Okay, in the past, they used to go as far down as 83?
The 83 has been kind of the standard.
And now she's at, this person at an 87?
There's about 30 officers of color that are between 86 and 87. Yes.
86 to 87 usually
get you promoted.
Get you promoted.
Exactly.
I mean, I scored a 96 on my promotional exam, but we know what happened.
Right. The gamesmanship.
Yeah. They changed the goalposts. But that's another situation. Right. But usually 86, 85, 84 will get you promoted.
Right. And also taking that in consideration, right? Officers left on the 2020. This is when this test took place in 2020. Stand to lose up to $25,000 to $30,000 because that's the biggest bumpies between patrolman or detective to the sergeant rank. It's like a 25% to 30% increase, and with the new contract, it's even more lucrative. But also, the benefits opportunities to take the lieutenant's exam. They have this unwritten standard that you have to be at least a sergeant to be promoted to the command staff. So that means there are less opportunities and less of a pool of people of color to be promoted to that. Female officers on the exam who top the exam in the pool of female officers to be promoted, it's between 35 to 40.
I mean, as you're speaking, I'm saying to myself, Is this a solo decision by the commissioner, or is this something a team of people that he's among decided that this is where we're going to go, including the mayor? Is this something that he decided that he was going to do himself?
This brings us to what we've talked about, and what was my biggest concern with Cox when he came in is who he surrounded himself with. Right, when he brought back Nicole Tabb, who's his chief of staff, who was the chief legal counsel for the Boston Police Department, and there was quite some backlash when he appointed her into that position. After all of the damage that she had done to MAMLEO members as her time in charge of labor, that concerned me, and it should have concerned him, but clearly it did not. So I'm sure you're having these conversations with your chief of staff about these things, about these moves, and I don't consider her someone that would have our best interests. And saying, wait a minute, you have an opportunity for more diversity for women and people of color. What is the rush? But also, I don't know if he thinks that an exam that he is crafting with the people around him that would pass the scrutiny of the judges who decided that the Boston Police in the state in itself is not putting out an exam that has very little to do with the job that in the task that they're being asked.
So they're still using the civil service exam?
Yes.
Okay. And the court has already said that the material that you're tested on is not relevant to the job that you're doing.
Well, even take it a step further, material, a lot of it's not even available still. Right? So how about adding that up? So what we're asking folks to do is to contact the mayor's office, Mayor Michelle Wu. The number there is 617-635-4500. Again, Mayor Wu's office, 617-635-4500. Also, the city councilors, our city councilors at large, as well as the city councils that represent all of the districts here in the city of Boston. Their number is the same, 617-635-4500. And Commissioner Cox's office at 617-343-4500. That's Commissioner Michael Cox, 617-343-4500. And ask him what is the urgency that he thinks that right now we should have an exam when we have so many issues that have not been resolved as a result of this lawsuit that cost the state over $40 million. And I can see his actions now costing the taxpayers in the city of Boston quite a few more money, because I can tell you right now, MAMLEO is not going to stand for this.
I think one of the things that the citizens might want to think about is when you go to the station, who do you feel comfortable with? Especially, and we'll say, and I'm not saying that you have to be black to police a black community. What I'm saying is that there are certain situations that you may feel like, I feel that I can be fairly treated here because I got people that look like me. A police department that's healthy in terms of its representation will seriously reflect throughout all ranks the community it serves. You don't see that in certain, and we still don't see that in areas of the city. And I left the job 14 years ago. And so, and I was always concerned about, and I can recall having conversations with Mike about, the diversity or the lack thereof in the police department. Right. And so this is concerning.
It should be concerning. It should be concerning not to those of us in law enforcement, but to the public as well, as you just spoke to so well, is that you walk into a police station and you ask to speak to a supervisor. Good luck trying to find a lieutenant. There are a few sergeants, but the lieutenants and the captains are really the ones that are in charge.
That will make
the station, right?
Go, yeah.
The sergeant is if there's an absence of the lieutenant, might be sitting on the desk, but that's not his fault. If there's a lieutenant, then that sergeant gets pushed out to the street. The lieutenant is running the show for the day-to-day operations there. The captain is behind the scenes, the administrator. The captain is more the administrator. But this here will set us back considerably, because
I don't understand it. I do not understand the reason for cutting it after 4 years, after 3 years, when the normal length of time was 7 years.
Right, but you're going to kill the list. And right now, when you have, and historically, this has been the practice of the Boston Police Department. It has happened to me on numerous occasions. When they get into a mark where there are a lot of minorities, people of color to be promoted, all of a sudden we need another exam. And I've had represented people as president of MAMLEO across the state. In which, in one instance, the person of color was the only one who passed the exam, and they said we need to have another test. We need to have a test. So Boston, like I said, historically, there were 3 females who sued the department supervisors over discrimination and successfully won. And they paid out, one recently over $2 million, another one over $1 million, the other one over close to $1 million. So this practice of doing things by the seat of your pants and discriminating against a certain population, that minorities and women are protected under Title VII.
Well, the other thing is also that the fact that you're losing the cases in court and it's not changing your practice is another concern, especially if I'm actually managing the coffer. Right. I'm no guy who's actually, paying out the money.
And people should be, because like I said, folks, let's be clear about this. This is not Commissioner Cox writing a check. Wow. This is not Mayor Wu, even though she signs the check. This is not Mayor Wu. This is the taxpayers. And right now, we're seeing a shortfall in funding because that COVID money is going away, and all of these lawsuits, and they're going to be coming fast and furious because we are already engaged in that process. We are not going to take this. We're not going to stand by and watch this happen. That the taxpayers are going to be ponying up more money for this discrimination because of these practices. I don't see the sense of urgency. You are short on personnel all throughout the department. You're having a hard time attracting. And this is why when they ask me to ask, would I help in recruiting? Why would I want to bring anybody I like? There's no one I dislike that much that I would say, you know what, good time to join the Boston Police Department. If you're not being abused and mistreated, this is the place you want to go. If that's what you want. Really, in my opinion, this is really a dereliction of duty and negligence. And this, I don't see the sense of the urgency here. I don't see the need for this at this point in time when you have a current list of qualified. And a lot of these people that are eligible to be promoted are veteran officers, right? They want to promote people who have 3 years to the ranks of lieutenants inside, 3 to 5 years. You're still learning the job at that stage, right?
You haven't encountered enough.
Right. This isn't about the books because, again, this last lawsuit with the Tatum proved the judge was saying a lot of this material you're asking people to regurgitate and read has nothing to do with the job. 617-282-0685, 617-282-0685. You're at the round table with MAMLEO. We're asking for your support here this morning.
Again, but the fact that you're losing cases hands over fist are not changing your...
Because, again, they're not personally having to pay for it.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. We always said that.
Exactly.
It's not coming out of their pocket, so who cares?
Right. Exactly. It's so, but the taxpayers, and this is why I always frame it and phrase it in that way. It's the taxpayers who are taking it on the chin. When you think about this is real money. I know my time at MAMLEO, as president of MAMLEO, if you factor in this Tatum case, over close to $70 million paid out of taxpayer money for wrongful doing in the Boston Police Department, and that will continue. So again, contact Mayor Michelle Wu's office. Ask her why she's gonna. She runs and hides. I'm not running the police department. You are the chief executive for the city of Boston. You are the mayor. The police commissioner is accountable to you. Everyone who works for the city is accountable to you. So you have a stake in this, and you claimed you ran on diversity and inclusion and being this progressive mayor. This is not progressive. This is regressive, and we're not going to stand for it. And the citizens of Boston should not stand for it, and we're asking for support. So again, contact the mayor's office, 617-635-4500. That's Michelle Wu's office. Actually, and also for the city council, 617-635-4500. And Commissioner Michael Cox's office, 617-343-4500. Ask him why he feels this urgency to really continue with the discriminatory practice of promotional exams right now when he has so many qualified people of color that he could promote to the rank of sergeant.
I would like to just hear, if I could talk to him, how did you come to that decision?
Turn around. There's a wall.
What was the reason? I mean, I'm not saying he would answer me. Right? Like, this is my decision. No. But I was just given the history of the discriminatory practice in the Boston PD. Why would you come to that decision now, when it has been over? The common practice has been 7 years before you turn, or why not establish a reasonable time that you actually terminate the
here's, in my opinion, a little bit of arrogance when you don't even know what the rules are and structuring an exam based on this recent case, the Tatum case, right? The judge didn't say,
say it again.
when you don't know the rules, the structures, the exam. So you're going to put together a test, right, currently, and you don't even know what it is. You haven't checked with the courts and saying, oh, okay, one, should we be having an exam right now? And what is it that you found faulty regarding the previous exam that you think, because with this one here has not been put to the test of recent, even this current exam, right?
Okay, I got it.
Was not much different than it was in the past.
So when the judge ruled on the Tatum case, did the judge, and I haven't read his findings, did he say, okay, this would be the best way to actually terminate the exam, or the rules? Did he establish rules around
what he highlighted was a lot of the deficiencies that were in the previous exams that were administered. But he didn't greenlight, he didn't put a red light, he didn't say you can't have an exam. But a prudent and intelligent person would check with the courts and actually look at the document and say, okay, and sit down with these groups and reach out to the attorneys that represented MAMLEO and say, you know what, we want to get some guidance on what were the deficiencies, right? So that maybe we're not structuring an exam that is automatically going to be challenged in the courts.
Well, another thing you can do is look at, I'm sure there's a plethora of research out there on how to best structure these exams, how the best actually administer the exam in such a way that you get people that actually do the job the way that you think is necessary to do it to be productive. Yeah. In addition to how long should you have the exam standing and before you cut it to move on. So what I'm saying is that usually when making something of a policy of this magnitude, you look for evidence-based research to actually kind of figure
one
out
of the things that I always thought would be, and good morning, Brother Rose, welcome. I want to get your take on this as well, is that the state police, one of the components that I really like they have, Dr. Bradley, you may disagree, is that you cannot take a promotional exam unless you have at least 10 years on the job. What that does is it forces you for your first 10 years to focus on being a police officer, learning all those mechanics. And what happens is that you have a larger turnover as well in the leadership, right? So people aren't like, if they hit it right, you could come on this, you could be a sergeant in the Boston Police Department a little over 3 years on the job. How much have you really learned in 3 years? Your first year, you're a recruit, so your first year is not even, but you get credit for that.
Yeah, actually, I thought it was kind of ironic because when I made sergeant, there was no one there to show me how to be the sergeant. I mean, I just, kind of learned it through osmosis. But one of the things
let me just interject here, because I think while you're on that subject, because you're talking about, you've been a sergeant in the Boston Police, but I have not. When you took their exam, how much of that material was relevant to the job that you were tasked to do?
Donut, zero.
And they've done studies saying that tests do not necessarily correlate to your success in the job. All the test does is it shows your ability to regurgitate the information that's been provided. So it doesn't have anything to do with your ability to perform the job.
The material wasn't relevant at all.
So finish your thought. But I wanted people to understand it because we have someone yourself who was a civil service sergeant. You were sergeant detective. You served on the command staff. But when you made sergeant, didn't you have to go for training at the academy? Didn't they send you there? Because I know they started sending people for 6 weeks or whatever, right? Because that's where you kind of learned what it was like, what you really was going to need. So fair to say that 6 weeks probably could have prepared you better than the exams.
Yeah, it did. But even with that, after I learned at the academy how what to do, there was no one there to observe me doing it. So I kind of had to say, okay, I think this is right. So that's one piece. Until I had I went to one of the sergeants that was on for a while. I forget his name. He has since passed away, and he rode with me for a while. To say, okay, this is how I do it. So,
but you had to ask for that.
I had to ask for that. But the other side of it is that when the material is not relevant, then how can you really say that the person that you're selecting is really doing the job effectively?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the scam of it. But we also understand we have to take into factor that, one, you have to be a resident of the city of Boston to be a Boston police officer, right? So if we look at the current administration and we look at the current situation with our Boston public schools, right? First of all, most of our kids that are in exam schools do not want to be police officers, right? So if we're looking at bringing in the ranks from the Boston public school system of people of color, right? We are in trouble with trying to replace folks that look like us, because even the folks I'm seeing, a lot of the ones that are coming on the job now, they went to private schools, they went to Metcos, or officers of color. A lot of them were not from the Boston public school system, because the Boston public school system is failing our kids, right? So if they happen to get their foot in the door and they can barely get through the entrance, how are they going to move up the chain?
Well, I don't think you, in policing today, you'll be able to move the chain, even if you come from a suburban school, if that's all you have, because you're competing with so many people like myself who have PhDs and masters and so on and so forth, in order to move up the rank. But I hear what you're saying. I hear exactly what you're saying. But even when you are going through a suburban school, the material you're testing on must be relevant to the job that you're doing.
That's true. But to your point, when you talk with the PhD, how many people with a PhD are police officers? That's what I'm saying, is that it's usually a blue, you know what I'm saying? Like there are very few people that have advanced degrees that are in this profession.
Especially in today's society.
That's what I'm saying, right? You don't get a PhD to be a police officer. It's not required, right?
Exactly.
It does help you a little bit on the financial end. That's what I'm saying, is that if you're looking at a segment of folks who see the opportunity, and don't believe me, it's been a great and rewarding financial job for me, but you don't need those things to do this job.
No, that's just you individually want to better yourself.
Exactly.
It's not require you to do the job.
Right.
I agree.
Right. And so if someone has a PhD, I don't even think they're taking a police exam.
No, but as a matter of fact, with the Boston Police Department, apparently what the ranks, a lot of people that reach that rank go right to the fire department.
Right.
You guys have an issue with that. They're not even staying on the job.
They're not staying because
I think that's across the board, though.
It is, because there's been a better financial incentive with the police department. With this new contract, I think it puts the police department at parity in somewhat with what the fire department was getting with the TCAP. But it doesn't say to people like me to go out there and recruit and say to people that look like me that this is some place that's going to be welcoming for you, and we have yet to have a police commissioner that has had a serious commitment for diversity, and I don't care what they look like.
No, I will agree with you, because I was while I was riding on my way in and listening to the show, I could remember that the movie Colors, and it was about the police, and the most racist officer was the black police officer, and then so unfortunately at times when you do promote people just because they do look like us, they might not have the best intentions for people that look like us.
I heard that all your skin folks are not necessarily your kin folks. I got that, but when you're changing an old organization, or you're attempting to change an old organization like Boston PD, you get, the culture is one thing. You can have people who look like us, but they're going into the culture that promote people that do not look like us.
Understood. And then to Larry's point was the fact that look who he surrounds himself with. Are those people, is that on their agenda? Is that what they're looking forward to do? And then, like he says, Nicole, whoever she was, she was like actually the
she was the architect,
of destroying a lot of people's color of careers in the police department. So if that's the person that you have as your chief of staff, I can see the underlying tone of what people are going through.
Right. And
so if they get lip service, but nothing's actually being done.
And here's the irony of someone like Commissioner Michael Cox. Is it says, in yesterday's paper, it says, man convicted in murder linked to 1995 beating of BPD Commissioner Michael Cox seeks internal police records, right? Commissioner Cox knows that racism is alive and prevalent in law enforcement. You would think that would happen to him, he would have a better understanding of why you need the right people in leadership and why diversity matters, right? And why you need, because when those situations happen, and we saw clearly from all the reports that there was a cover-up that took place there. A lot of that, Dr. Browder, you've been there. When you come on as a supervisor, when you came on the scene, everyone was looking at you and what direction we go. And it's critical to have people who have some moral character. But if that supervisor is unfamiliar with what needs to take place, they're looking around for advice from people, from their subordinates.
Yeah, they're looking around to people who are most senior. Among their subordinates, to see exactly how what
I remember a young supervisor. I was working with a detective who was senior to me, and we were at a scene, and he pulls up, and he walks over to the senior detective, and he says, "You have the most gray hair. What do we do here?" Now I respect him asking that. I just started laughing like, right. I respected his honesty, right?
That's a good one.
You know, but at least he didn't try to fudge his way through it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying to myself, well, you know, you've got the chevrons on. Didn't he prepare you for this? Oh, wasn't in the books.
No.
Wasn't in the book.
It's not particular, but I like that. He had the most gray hair.
What do we do? What do we do?
I don't know. I have the authority. You just tell me what to do.
Right, you defer, and I'll carry out your. Yeah.
Well, speaking of like cover-ups, and you ever see on Netflix Trial 4?
Yes, I did.
All right, so again,
That's the Mulligan.
Yeah.
Oh, the Mulligan. Yeah, I saw that.
Again,
In fact, I lived that. We're on the job when that happened.
Boston apparently has a history because there's a current case going on where even the state police was supposed to investigate this Karen Reed or what have you, and their findings.
Yeah.
Again,
That's
it's an ongoing case, but that's the defense right now is that it's a cover up, and apparently Boston police has a history of doing cover ups.
Well, you know what I've seen and observed recently, and actually since Commissioner Cox, and I sat back and I watched, but I wasn't surprised. It did not shock me. He brought back a lot of which concerned me, and I voiced this to him as well as to others. So it's not, you know, was him bringing back a lot of former police commissioner Ed Davis's people. Nicole Taub is one of them.
Yeah.
Ed Callahan was another. There's a long.
Ed Callahan is back there?
Yeah, he's been back for a while. There's a long laundry list of people who were former members who could not get this place. Like I said, it's like, you know, having AAA, but you know the person that drives the car in the ditch. You call them to get it out. They just can't. They just can't. So when you have the people who have a history of, in my opinion, discriminating against people of color, and you make that person your chief of staff, like you couldn't find anyone else to be that person, and you're in a core circle. Because if you really look at his core circle, I'm not talking about people who have titles, but his core circle, your chief of staff is picked because that's someone that you lean on. That is a personal pick that you pick, and that said enough to me to understand who Michael Cox really was by bringing Nicole Taub back. Someone who now is claiming she's a Latina. She's someone who relates to us. No, I've seen your handiwork. I've been in the room with officers of color and watched you destroy their careers, and we have to fight to get them back. You know, she is probably, in my opinion, and the facts will probably support, has been the architect in really firing more black officers than any other person from legal. And it's not the public, because those 99.9% of what she's done has been overturned. And this is the this is the person that you bring back.
Like he says, maybe he likes litigation, maybe he likes being in lawsuits and being sued. I don't know what it is, but apparently, you know, when they say it's time for change, he didn't see, and he didn't take the opportunity to actually change and do something different.
But there was this expectation, because he had been a victim of this, that he was going to be the one to be able to carry it out, and it's been a real failure.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there was an expectation on everybody's part. The other side of it is that we can't lose sight of the fact that there's a culture. There's an organizational culture that he's walking right into, you know, and changing that. I can tell you from my time at the command center, there was a culture there of that actually bred, and you know, deception, and bred, in my opinion, thievery.
No, but
trying to change that culture is another fight. It's a huge fight, Larry, and it's something that's not going to reveal itself.
Right, but this is what makes it even worse, Dr. Bradley and Pierre, is Michael Cox, other than Nora Baston, served on the command staff longer than any other person, black or white. So he, in my opinion, should have been the best person, if you look at it in its totality, to have weeded out, to know where all of this is. He's not some outsider like Ed Davis is coming in from Lowell. It takes a little while to get your feet wet, but he has an institutional knowledge. He has been a deputy. He has been, on paper, in charge of a lot of these bureaus or affiliated with them.
I agree with that. But in order to make the change that you're asking for, and we're all asking for, you have to have someone, number one, who's willing, and number two, who has the tenacity to stand forward and not let go when the boat gets rocky. because what I'm seeing, what I'm thinking to myself, I'm saying to myself, this is not all Mike. You know, I don't know who's behind it, but it's not all him. He's the leader, so he has to be the individual who's carrying the message. But I don't think it's all him. It doesn't sound like him, Larry.
Well, it is him. Because
you think it's all him?
You surround yourself. Your picks say a lot about who you are, Dr. Bradley.
Okay, I agree. I agree with that.
You pick a team,
right? Exactly.
But really, do you though?
You do. Well, because I don't think Mayor Wu said go out and bring Nicole Todd back.
Well, I'm using my experience. You know, when I became, and I was not the commissioner, but when I became the deputy of 911, I was told this captain is who you're going to have.
Yeah, but okay, let me ask you a question, because as I said, when Willie Gross was commissioner, to his credit, Dennis was his pick. There was no question that's who he wanted as his chief of staff, right? Dennis was his chief of staff, right? So there's history there that is usually a pick that is reserved for the commissioner, your chief of staff. Now, there are political moves. We all know that, right? People on the command staff that are there because of politics. But usually your inner circle of folks, you have a lot of say in that. You know, I'm not saying you have complete say, but you have a lot of say. Your chief of staff is really a reflection of you. And to bring someone in with that history, already it questions. People are already skeptical of that individual, and you bring them back as your advisor.
Yeah, but when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking about, you know, the people that he brought back. You know, I'm saying to myself, it's not all him. I mean, Ed Callahan, Mary Ellen Burns, who I happen to like. I think Mary Ellen was pretty cool. She was always cool with me. Nicole Tab. I'm saying to myself, is this really him, or is he working with someone, maybe an Ed Davis in the background?
Absolutely.
Saying, you know, these are the people that I think you should bring.
I would agree. I mean,
there's no question. There's no question, in my opinion, that's what's taking place.
Okay.
But that says something about you. This is why I say.
Okay, I got you.
Where's the pushback?
I got you.
Where's the pushback?
Okay, I agree.
Where's the spinal cord?
Right.
Where's the backbone?
Because
the bottom line is
if someone had come to you, me, or Rhodes and said, we want to bring back the team that lost for us, right? We think that they've got it in them, right? We know their handiwork, right? Because look where we are, right? We're right back where we started, right? We are now looking at more lawsuits, right? We're now looking at more discrimination, right? So what is it to gain, right, from not even a reinventing of the wheel, right? Going back and I know Boston's big into recycling garbage, but this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
All I will say is, as far as I think what the impetus is or whatever, as they say, sunlight. Or just exposing this. The fact that we're talking about this, it's like that's what sunlight.
And I'm glad you bring that up, because this is what my recommendation is, to bring this out to the public.
Absolutely.
You know, we used to do the standouts, and I think we need to get right out there. The weather's getting nice now.
Also, a vote of no confidence from the MAMLEO. Organize that.
You know, and I'm glad you brought, because that was in my mind and it slipped away from me. The person you're taking your advice from, Ed Davis, his team, is the same person that MAMLEO and the NAACP here in Boston took a vote of no confidence again.
And then also you got to
this is your advisor.
Also, Ed Davis was
part of the selection process.
Yeah, but also Ed Davis has a lucrative contract with
the details. Right. And then, so he's a stake in this.
Yes.
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
Did that go through?
Yeah. His company is. I mean, people are. It's not in force yet, but he is the only one who can provide civilian personnel. Right, flaggers. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yep.
The person who was part of
lucrative,
but no conflict there. No conflict there.
How can that actually pass the 30B law?
How can it pass the smell test? Let alone anything else, right?
I mean, how can you actually get through the 30B, which is the law that says that you have to have?
The city councilors at the time were running around the city, saying they didn't want police officers, that these positions should be open to the public, and yet you all let Ed Davis sneak in and snatch all of the details. And yet, you know, so this is what I'm saying is they're watching the shiny object was, we got to take these details away from police officers. They can't do it. We need to put these into the private so people in the community can have an opportunity. And yet, Davis is the only one that gets an opportunity.
How does this guy walk in and get that opportunity? That's a massive contract.
Yes,
exactly.
And then the commissioner, can't do anything about it, can't change it. What's going on there?
Well, he had to give it his blessing. But see, again, Ed Davis was part of the selection process.
So he knew who
in my
was gonna
opinion, he found somebody that he could manipulate.
Someone that's going to be in his pocket.
Yeah.
He's going to do his bidding.
Well, I can definitely see, based on
You
who
see
he
what
brought
I'm
back.
so fired up this morning? Why? It is personal.
I walked in, you were fired up.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this guy got some heat in this britches today.
No, but again, every
you know me well.
No, but every other industry is held to a standard, and then when they're exposed, it makes national news. Every police department, anytime they do something, apparently it goes under the carpet. People, they don't want to rock the boat with the local police department, so they won't report anything like lawsuits that they've lost or things that they found that have been like egregious or like wrong.
Yeah.
They'll just kind of like let it go under the carpet, or maybe one little headline in the 3rd or 7th page of the newspaper, but they won't make it headline news where people like aware.
Let me be perfectly honest with people. Under former acting commissioner Greg Long, in the top leadership of the Boston Police Department, every 4-star superintendent was a person of color under Greg Long. And he added people of color to the command staff under Greg Long, right? The leadership in the Boston Police Department was more diverse in every structure of it. The chief of staff was black, right? All of the superintendents of patrol, of the investigations, every 4-star superintendent was black. Michael Cox came to MAMLEO's Christmas party, and I was there. And he got up to speak. And he highlighted and he pointed out that he noticed that the command staff in the Boston Police Department, all of the 4 stars, were people of color. And instead of applauding that, he said, "Don't get used to it."
Wow.
I walked out the room. He said, "Don't get," and I'm saying to people, I'm looking around the room, I'm like, did you all not just hear what he just said? He said, "Don't get used to it." And under his leadership, that now has been demoted. There are less people of color with 4 stars under his administration than there were under Greg Long. And matter of fact, the demotion of a black superintendent to deputy superintendent, and then he turned around and gave that promotion to a white female.
Yeah, there are issues there.
Yes,
there are issues. There's psychological issues
because there is a cap on how many superintendents they can have.
Yeah, right.
So in order for him to elevate her, he had to take it from one of us.
Yes, yeah.
And in the history of the Boston Police Department, folks that are listening, first time out, there has never been a person of color that has been promoted to a 4-star superintendent first time. I'm not talking about making deputy and then promoted superintendent. That right has only been reserved in history for white males. That have been promoted first time out, the superintendent. So let's put it out there. The honeymoon is over.
It's over, yeah.
I never went on one, but the honeymoon is over.
Call Solve at 7 or something.
I don't really stay in touch with the police department like that, Larry. You know what I mean? Because I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm out of it for my own sanity, because some of the things that they do, I just can't do it. But to know this is information this is a revelation to me. I have no idea. I was like, oh,
you wonder why my blood pressure is up this morning?
I see.
Because I saw this. I saw it coming.
Yeah.
People watch what people do and what they say, right? And exactly, it is not. Michael Cox is like I said. What happened to him? And what they did to him.
Actually, can you go into detail of that, please?
Even after it happened,
what happened to him?
When he was beaten and left for dead.
Michael Cox, the current commissioner,
right, was left for dead. He was a patrolman. He was beaten back in the 80s. He was left for dead because folks thought he was a suspect. And with that said, and if you look at that in its totality, the reason why he wasn't rendered aid is because he was a police officer. Because they knew that the story of him resisting arrest was not going to hold, because what police officer would be fighting with another police officer, right? But because this was practice for some folks and how they dealt with people when they arrested them and having to pursue them, how are we going to cover this up? The attempt was made, right? And even after that, the threats that he and his family got from police officers, the coming and slashing of his tires at his home, having to have a police car at his home to protect him and his family.
Wow.
Come on.
No, that needs to be exposed. Again, of course, that's going to affect you psychologically if you're now the chief of police. Like, if you're afraid of the people that are like around you, that you don't even feel confident that they can, that you're safe with your coworkers. Like, of course, it's going to affect the way you. Like, you better listen or get in line. You know what I mean, Mr.
So, are you suggesting that? And I'm just throwing this out, that Michael is a figurehead and Ed Davis is really running the show and behind the scenes?
He's not, but I am.
Nothing I can add to that but an amen.
That's the way it looks like to me. Yeah.
Wow.
Because he was part of the selection, Ed Davis, and then when
should have never. How do you bring someone on for to be part of the process right away that
they're getting rid of
that the minority officers took a vote of no confidence again, and you bring him on to help you pick your next police commissioner?
I bring that up because I blame Mayor Wu for
that. This is why.
I blame her for that. I think that the black community, the community of color, should take a very serious look at her when it comes down
to re-election
for re-election, and think about what she did, because what she basically said was, although this individual was voted no confidence in, not only by MAMLEO, also by the union.
Yes. Right.
All right.
That's right.
Yeah, we're going to actually seek his.
That's historic. The two organizations.
Exactly. Right. Because usually they're going in the opposite direction.
Yes. That's right.
So both organizations looked at this guy and said, this guy is not good for us.
That's right.
All right. And then she's going to go back and say, well, we're going to actually seek out his
advice, right?
His advice for the next commissioner.
Maybe she's
he was just voted no confidence in.
Right.
Well, why would you want his advice?
Maybe Mayor Wu's in his pocket too. You don't know.
Well, this is where it said, why folks need to open their eyes, right? Why we have to do what we're doing here this morning is informing folks of what's really taking place here, right? Mm-hmm. We're not in any better shape. This is not being progressive. This is being regressive, in my opinion. In that I don't think that Commissioner, if this is the way he's going to continue to surround himself with these folks who are not moving the city forward, who really, I didn't say taking us back because they've never moved us forward. That you're surrounding yourself. I mean, his core of folks. Some of them may be in a room that look like us, but the real conversations are taking place with the people who we trust the least.
Yeah. I would suggest
that's a sad indictment, man. I mean, that's a very sad commentary. I happen to hold Mike in very high esteem, man. I mean, he was a nice guy to me, man. But I don't understand how he would actually. I just think there's someone else there, man.
He's not. Apparently, he's not in control of the department. Like you said, he's a puppet. He's just there to look like a figurehead, but he's not really making the decisions. The decisions are made for him. Like he said, how can you not be able to pick up your own chief of staff? That's the one thing that it's like, hey, no, I don't want this. This is what I want.
But he clearly did, because I don't think I think you could have made the argument could have been made that bringing her back would bring back all of these bad feelings and all of these bad decisions that she's made. Mm-hmm. So what is the benefit? And if that's what I have to take, I walk away.
Well, the other side of it, and I have had my experience with this person. So, we know,
exactly.
I don't necessarily like her professional, but I'm a man of Christ. Mm-hmm. I let things go and let God handle it. I don't really go to that.
She was gone, Dr. Brown.
Yeah, I hear you. I got that. But where I'm going here is that I don't understand why that particular individual, given the history, would be allowed to come back. That's why I say to you, and based on my experience on the command staff, Ed Davis is behind us.
There's no question.
He's behind us.
There's no question.
He's the person that's actually slipping in information. And granted, it is Mike's decision as to, am I going to do it or am I not going to do it? Or is it in my best interest to appease him or not? I would have said to him, this is my show. I'm here. Let me handle it.
Right.
All right. I know the parts. I want to put the parts. If I'm going to go down. I want to go down with the parts that I chose.
But here's the thing, because what you're highlighting is the deficiencies, in my opinion, of COT. Is that because you have those leadership qualities, because you have prepared yourself to be a leader, right? And when you've just been an observer all that time, you're looking for advice from other folks and you're going to the wrong people. Yeah. You're looking at someone who, because they was a former commissioner, that they should have advice. I mean, he could have went to Billy Evans and got this same, advice. He could have went to any other police commissioner. You went to the one and you're taking advice from the one that the Black Police Association took a vote of no confidence. You come into that organization and you say you need to make some changes, and you make changes that are opposing to, like I said, under the former acting commissioner Greg Long, we were in better shape.
Well, the reason why I think is Ed Davis is because when you look at the players, when you look at the players that's coming in, that he brought in, it's got to be him. It's got to be Davis who is actually manipulating, the whole thing. Yeah. And I'm really sad to hear that because I always thought Mike was a very.
The truth is very painful. No, and this is not a person. I grew up on the same street with Michael Cox. I know Michael Cox. We've had some very private conversations about him and his practice. I know he tells folks I was the one that pushed him to take the exam. He tells that to people in public. I know Michael Cox, and this is why I'm not surprised at these things that I'm seeing. But you don't get a pass.
Yeah. Well,
exactly. You got to hold truth to power, and then you got to hold people responsible for their actions and for what they're doing.
I know. I see the disappointment on your face.
I'm so disappointed.
I know.
Because I know the guy. I talked with Mike. Like I said, he was just at my school. Right. Nice guy.
He is a nice guy.
He was always when we talked in the corridors when we were both cops. He was always very approachable, very easy to talk to.